Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. UFC 327 is this weekend, and Jiri Prochazka will be facing Carlos Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight title. So, in this video, we will be taking a deep look into Jiri Prochazka's style, um, his skills, and what makes him so good. But also, we need to talk about the obvious weaknesses, which I think is especially important against this fight in Carlos Ulberg. Jiri Prochazka is so fascinating to me, not only as a fighter but in general as a human being. Because what do you mean you're gonna put your hand inside an anthill to test your limits? Who does this stuff? Shadow boxing for 24 hours. It's like Tony Ferguson was the only other guy that comes to mind when I hear about the things that Jiri Prochazka does in his free time. But I've been planning on doing this breakdown for a while, but it didn't make sense before to do it until now. And I was also quite busy with the Easter, so I wasn't um, able to make the video a bit earlier, but better late than never. A wise man once said, to confuse your enemy, you must first confuse yourself. And that wise man is none other than Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka embodies creating confusion within the octagon. For all the crazy stuff that he does, from the flying knees to the crazy elbows to all the jumping stuff, he does all of the stuff to cause chaos and confusion within the octagon. But a lot of this insane fancy stuff serves another purpose, which is to hide all the really fundamentally good stuff, or at least, even if it doesn't look fundamentally sound from a technical point, the idea is fundamentally sound. And all this crazy stuff is used to hide these fundamental stuffs, which is what Jiri Prochazka uses to hurt his opponents with. And there are several things that he does really well, but let's start with one of the things that he does in almost every fight: the forward lean. This is something that's calculated, measured, and Iri has clearly thought of why he's doing it. It's not the same as I've said it in a video before about Charles Oliveira, where he sometimes will throw shots by running headfirst into it. But this is not one of those things. This is extremely calculated. The idea of the forward lean, where he's basically in front of his lead leg, is to create a false sense of distance to his opponent. And if they try to attack, he might simply pull, or he might slip to another side and then try to come up with counters. He's really good with his counters for in a lot of his fights. And this is something that he does in almost every fight. This is not really something that's new or unique. And if you might remember Conor McGregor doing this against Eddie Alvarez, and Jiri Prochazka also does it a lot of times. So how does he do it? This starts with the forward lean, and Roundtree in this example thinks, okay, he's actually closer, tries to go for a jab. Jiri simply goes from his forward leg to his back leg so that he can pull himself behind and then spring into a counter. But in this instance, the distance between them was just too much, and this was also the second round. Roundtree was still quite fast, but everything changes in the third round, where Roundtree is hurt, he is tired, he was doing a lot of lazy jabs, and this time again he does the forward lean, and when Roundtree goes for a jab, he simply slips to the side and then comes up with the left hand, which catches him clean. And this is not the only time he has done it. If you remember the fight against Jamal Hill, he has done this multiple times. From open stance, from closed stance, he has done it from everywhere against. So this was the open stance. No, this was the closed stance from orthodox, but they both are in orthodox. And Jamal comes up with okay, I don't have the image here, but he was leaning forward here. And when Jamal tried to come up with the right hand, he just simply fell back and then came up with the counter and landed it on his chest. The forward lean is not the only way he will try to go for the counter, the pull or slip counter. The another way he sets it up is by putting his hands up. And sometimes he will act like he's gonna drop his hand actually, which is what happened here, where he brought his guard up, and then acted like he's gonna drop his guard, and this made Jamal think, okay, he's open now, so he came up with a jab, and Jiri Prochazka simply slipped to the right and to Jamal's right, and then came up with the left hand, caught him clean. But this is what I mean. Pull counters and slip counters are extremely basic from boxing. This is not something unique. This is not something crazy. But all the crazy stuff that Jiri Prochazka does is to hide all this really smart and fundamentally good stuff. Jiri is also really good with masking his kicks. If you watch his fights, he throws his kicks. He will throw kicks from both sides. That's something he does. But the kicks are usually awkward. But what you will notice is that he almost will never throw his kicks naked. It's extremely rare for him to throw a kick naked. He will throw flying knees naked. Where I don't think I've seen flying knee land. Maybe on Glover it landed once, but it almost never lands because he always throws it naked and everyone sees it a mile away. But the normal roundhouse kicks, the calf kicks, the teeps that he does, they are extremely masked. And here is an example of it against Volkan. Starts the sequence with a calf kick, or not a calf kick, but a thigh kick, and in the next sequence, again does the same motion, but this time he actually brings his left hand with him, which made Volkan think that he's actually throwing the left hand and he's trying to parry it. If you watch the video, you know this. He tried to parry it here and then slip his hand to the right. Slip his head to the right. This is the classic Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman KO sequence, where it just happens exactly the same way. And but in this sequence, he doesn't get knocked out cold, but rather get hurt really bad, and this starts the finishing sequence against Jiri Prochazka. And this masking of the kicks, he does it almost every time. You will not see a naked normal kick from Jiri Prochazka. I will show. Let me show some other stuff. Against Roundtree, again starts with the right hand to bring the stuff high, to bring Roundtree's guard high. And I think the idea was to kick it to the body, but he simply pulls it back. He does not throw it. Maybe he was going to throw a head kick, but he does not throw it here. But Roundtree now knows he's trying to kick to the body. And he will perfectly mix kicks from hands to the leg, and then he will do it the other way too. He will start with the leg. He will start with the kick, and then he will finish it with a sequence from a punch or a elbow or something. And in this instance, it was the other way. So he starts again, goes for the same thing. In this instance, thigh kick, and then uses this into spin to get into to land a spinning elbow on Roundtree. He really does mix it well, and he really masks everything when it comes to his kicks. But talking more about his kicks and how he mixes it or masks it well with his hands, here is a sequence from the Glover Teixeira fight where he does a really huge feint with the overhand, and this brings Glover's hand up, guards up, and leaves his body open. And Iri simply uses this chance, takes this chance to tip him hard in the body. And this he does it so well where he feints the overhand. It even works on Alex Pereira where he misses so big because he has no idea what Jiri Prochazka is doing. Again, the same idea, the overhand feint and finishing it with the leg kick instead. So this is what the idea is. All the fancy stuff that Jiri Prochazka does is simply to hide all the fundamentally good stuff that he does. And the fundamentally good stuff are the ones that is constantly landing and leads to the finish. So you take all this fundamental stuff, which is landing on the opponents, you hide it between all the crazy, insane stuff like the flying knee and all the big movements and all the flying jumps that Iri does in the fights. And you mix that with the opponent knowing what will happen if Iri Prohaska lands clean. This puts such a stress on the opponent's mind that they will freeze simply. They do not know what to do, and Iri Prohaska will build on it. There is a very good sequence from the round 3 fight. So the time is 4:06 in the third round. Starts with a jab feint, brings his guard up, again another jab feint, throw a leg kick, another jab feint, guard up again, slipping to the left, again another jab. If you see this, you will notice that Roundtree is not doing anything because he does not know what is happening. He's doing so many stuff that it just puts so much stress on the nervous system of the opponents and they get confused so much. And this is what I mean. Jiri Prochazka masters confusion and chaos in the fights. And if you are already in this situation, it's you're probably not gonna have a good time from here. He will not slow down. Iri will find an opening. And the confusion he has already caused is gonna be enough to find it. So if Iri Prohaska is that good, how did Alex Pereira beat him? This brings us to Iri Prohaska's weakness. If I show you the image and ask you what do you think is Iri Prohaska's weakness, let's go one by one. This is the same slide that I showed before, and again the forward lean. The forward leans means he's putting a lot of pressure on his leg, on the forward leg. Well, he will obviously use it to fall down to his rear leg, but this gives an opportunity for you to attack. And this is the first weakness. Iri Prohaska also has kind of a wider stance, so it's quite obvious to start with the leg kicks. And even if he is on his rear leg, he's not really checking on the kicks, which is a really bad thing from Jiri Prochazka. He needs to be developing his skills on checking kicks and also not letting it happen. But this is one of his weakness. The second, Jiri Prochazka does a lot of head movement. But if you see, what is not moving is his body. This is a huge target, and a lot of opponents really focus on the head, and because he's so, you can catch him, it's not that you can't do it, but it's just way more harder to do that when there is a easier and a relatively non-moving target. But if you pass this, then obviously he's gonna come up with stuff and you have to be really good to counter it, and this is countering it here is what Alex Pereira did in his first fight, which is not which was not as methodical as his second fight against Iri, where he completely just destroyed him from the first minute. So how did he destroy him in the second fight? He simply did exactly this. Starting with the leg kicks, again he did it in the first fight too, because Alex Pereira is simply that good with leg kicks, so his cuff kicks he's gonna do it anyway, but it's especially important he he was more methodical in this fight than he was in the first fight. So he attacked the calf kick first, and then he was going for the body. And this is especially important because you don't try to counter it. It's harder to counter Iri. You intercept him and meet him in the middle. This is what you do. You either go first or you intercept him in the middle, where you throw shots with him instead of after him. And this completely stumbled Hiri. Just simply these two things, going to the body and intercepting him constantly, simply stumbled him, and he could not really start in the fight. This was basically all Alex Pereira did to frustrate Iri, and by this time Iri was frustrated. He wanted to find shots. He was not landing anything. Anything he tried, Alex Pereira had a counter to it, and he is chopping on his leg, so he did not have a lot of time. So he had to do something quick, and this is extremely dangerous for Jiri Prochazka because when he throws a jab, he almost never has his right hand on near his chin. This is simply a really, really bad thing that Jiri Prochazka does. This allows him to give more leverage to his shots, but this, because he relies so much on his head movement, he will keep his hands down, thinking his instincts are gonna be enough to move from any coming shots. And once Alex Pereira had him frustrated and had the timing on his jabs, finding the left hook on Jiri Prochazka was simply easy. And this was where the fight was over. It was not here. It was already over here. So when Iri came back into the fight in the second round, it didn't matter. He was already dazed, he was already damaged, and his instincts are not there to do the head movements and to see kicks, and he got caught with the head kick. But this is where the fight was over, where this is a huge weakness, especially someone like against Carlos Ulberg, who is long and also has a really good a really good and powerful check hook. I mean, and this is what scares me against Carlos Ulberg. Is he as good as Alex Pereira? Maybe, maybe not. But the left hook is there. He's really good with his left hook. He's really long. He can fight long. He can mimic what Alex Pereira did in the second fight. And Hiri hasn't really changed from this. And even against Roundtree was winning the first two rounds because he was going first and intercepting Jiri Prochazka and was going to the body. That's what was stopping Jiri Prochazka and why he was losing the first two rounds against Roundtree. This just means Carlos Ulberg has to mimic the same, not gas out, not get tricked into a firefight against Jiri Prochazka, because I don't know if he's gonna be finding the counters routinely as someone like Alex Pereira. But he can go first and he can stay cautious of what might be coming first instead of throwing lazy jabs and lazy kicks. And this is exactly what worries me against Carlos Ulberg. I have a theory on how to pick a Jiri Prochazka fight, and I think this fight will show whether I might be right or not. And if I am right, I will make another video next week on. I don't really like picking fights, and I also don't like betting stuff, so I don't want to make a picking video for others. But I think Jiri Prochazka is an exception in this case, and because I have a fun theory, it's not like a technical breakdown, but a fun theory. I might just make this next week if Jiri Prochazka wins. And if you enjoy the breakdown, if you learned something new, I would really recommend liking and also subscribing this channel. And I will see you guys in another video.